all is well with you and your families at this time. So today we're moving on to the 11th day, and 11th day in the month is normally known as Ekadashi. So it's the 11th day of the month and it's Ekadashi today. Today is Padmani Ekadashi, and we're also observing here on the same day. Sometimes there's a difference with Mayapur and South Africa. So we're moving on also to the 10th verse today of the chapter. So we're halfway through the chapter. This chapter has only 20 verses. There's 2 chapters in Bhagavad Gita that has 20 verses. Chapter 12 and chapter 15. So we are in chapter 10 today, which means we are halfway through the 15th chapter of Purushotam Yoga. Yoga means to connect, and Purushotam is the Supreme Lord. So how to connect to the Supreme Lord? And we've been hearing about the upside down banyan tree. We've been hearing now about transmigration, how the soul is moving, the subtle body we heard about yesterday. So today we have a very interesting concept, and let's go through the Sanskrit and find out. So Bhagavad Gita Chapter 15 verse number 10. Utkramantam shtitam vapi bhunjanam va gunam vitam vimudha mano pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. Translation: the foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. So let's try to go over the translation carefully. So translation: the foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. So we see, Om Ajnana Timirandasya. We are all born in ignorance. Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. So we are all born in ignorance, but our spiritual master opens our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Therefore, we offer our respects to him. So we've knowledge of this level. This is actually the real knowledge. Everything else is vocational knowledge, knowledge that we gather from this world to have a job, to do some employment. And we see in the earlier days, you would specialize in a particular field, and you would live your whole life with that knowledge and be a specialist in that. But whatever knowledge is accumulated right now with the database of knowledge on Google and other things, whatever you specialize in will become obsolete within 2 or 3 years. So you're a specialist only for a short, brief moment of time. After that, you have to learn the newest technology in that information, in that field. So we're constantly learning. But this knowledge about the soul and what happens with the body, because it's subjective and because it falls under the category of spirituality, then people say, it's belief. Can you prove any of this directly? So this kind of technology is not proved the same way that physical technology is proved. Matter has a different level of experiments, and subjective yoga has a different level of experiments. So one is external experiment, the other one is internal experiment. One is objective experiment, the other one is subjective experiment. So we have to understand the difference between this, and the only way to know this first, on the first level, before you can experience it, is to approach a bona fide spiritual master. Tat vidi pranipate na pariprashnena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshanaha Arjun, if you want to understand this knowledge, you have to approach a bona fide spiritual master, render service unto him. And by that, Tattva Darshini, he is the knower of the truth. He'll impart this knowledge unto you. Prabhupada goes on to say here, but one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. So thanks to the books of Srila Prabhupada and the different followers of Srila Prabhupada, who have assimilated the knowledge that he's teaching in parampara system, disciplic succession. Because one can gain knowledge and share knowledge, but is it coming in the disciplic succession? Without the disciplic succession, it's your own experimental knowledge. It may be good, it may be bad, that's not for us to say. But if we want the authentic, authorized spiritual knowledge, then it has to come in disciplic succession. And Krishna says that in Gita in the 4th chapter, Evam parampara praptam imam raja sayo vidu sha kalena mahatas yoganasta parantapa. Arjun, this parampara system, I'm teaching this knowledge in parampara system. I've even taught it to imam vivasvate yogam proktavam maham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manushvaguve bravit. I've even spoken it to Vivaswan, the sun god, and he spoke it to Manu, and all this disciplic chain is coming down in that way. So you can see, without the disciplic chain, how do you know whether that knowledge is authentic or not? It may seem so, just like the scientists are showing us now. No, see, the evidence is here, it works like this, it works like this. Give it 10 years down the line, oh, well, we thought it worked like that, but now it seems to work different. So you're learning knowledge or information that's constantly changing. Where is the knowledge that's permanent, authentic knowledge? So this is why authentic knowledge can only come in parampara, disciplic succession. So Prabhupada says in the purport here, the word jnana chakshushaha is very significant. Without knowledge, one cannot understand how a living entity leaves this present body. So, without this spiritual knowledge, how will you know what happens when you leave this body? Actually, there's a nice joke. They say there's 2 significant moments in life. One is birth and the other is death. Other than that, there is no life. So, but that's according to material study. But according to yoga, the soul constantly moves on and is never destroyed, even when the body is destroyed. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. That even when the body is destroyed, the soul is never destroyed. So where can we get this knowledge? This is coming only in disciplic succession, in books on spirituality from the Vedas. Authentic books like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada goes on to say, know what form of body he is going to take in the next life. Know even why he is living in a particular type of body. These are all important questions in life. How did I get this body? Why am I suffering? Where is this going to? Why is that person born like that and I'm born like this? So all these questions must have answers. Perfect questions these are. So there must be perfect answers to these. And you're not going to get it by experiment out there objectively. This is only going to only come subjectively through yoga. This requires a great amount of knowledge understood from Bhagavad Gita and similar literatures, heard from a bona fide spiritual master. So this is really the greatest gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us, is his books. He's done so many miraculous things in this world. But the greatest thing he's given us is his books, these teachings, this knowledge. Because when we look at religion, what we thought religion was, we thought religion means you just pray to God for whatever you need, like our Christian brothers do. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Please give us thy kingdom come. Please give us our daily bread. So at least they're approaching God for it. But this is the mentality of basically all religious traditions. that God is the order supplier. That if God is the order supplier, then we only approach Him. Why need to love Him? Just please Him somehow, whatever He wants, and then He gives what we want. So it's just a mutual exchange that we have, like a shopkeeper. We give him something, some currency, some level of currency, and he gives what we need to exist. But what Bhagavad Gita is saying, no, this person actually wants to love you. Surita sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim icchati. This person wants a loving relationship with you. And when you see there's love, then do you have to ask, give this, give that, take care of me, this, that. Those are all symptoms of love after that. So Prabhupada is saying this is what Krishna consciousness is offering. A loving relationship with the Lord through devotional service. So the traditional way of religion was karma kanda based, fruitive activity. But we've seen the banyan tree. We saw the banyan tree, the fruitive results of the banyan tree. And how it binds us here, that we just go up and just come back down. This is why Narada Muni chastised Vyasadeva, that you're writing about spirituality and you're just binding people here, you're just teaching them karma kanda, how to go up, how to get this, how to get that, how to take care of their families, how to take care of the children, how to get that. These are all material things. If religion is doing the same thing, then what is so great about it? The greatness of religion is that it can free you from this. Savai punsa paro dharma yato bhakti radoksache. That religion which can free you from the material entanglement of this banyan tree. What is that religion? That is Srimad Bhagavatam. Nigama kalpa taru galitam phalam sukhamukha amritam drava sunyatam pibata bhagavatam rasam malayam. This Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, or the knowledge that is coming in Srimad Bhagavatam, is the knowledge that can free us, completely free us from the entanglement of this material world, and it's nectarian, it can just be drunk like mango juice. Prabhupada goes on to say, one who is trained to perceive all these things is fortunate. So Prabhupada is saying, yeah, how fortunate you are. So Prabhupada is saying the fact that you came across this knowledge, you're Bhagyavan Jeev, fortunate soul. Brahmande Brahmate Kon Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasada Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. That soul is so fortunate who's got, because he's just going from one universe to the other. But when he meets Guru Krishna Prasad Pai, he's received the blessing from Guru and from Krishna, and he's received their blessing, Bhakti Lata Bij, and he's got the seed of devotion planted in his heart, the Bhakti Lata Bij. Now he's just performing devotional service till it becomes ripened, and it will reach to Golok Vrindavan in the spiritual world. Prabhupada goes on to say, every living entity is quitting his body under certain circumstances. He is living under certain circumstances, and he is enjoying under certain circumstances, under the spell of material nature. So this is a spell. Who casts a spell? Somebody who's trying to put you in illusion. That's a spell. A spell is something that puts you in illusion. So what is an illusion? Illusion is like a mirage. In the desert, you look there, but it seems like water there. And you keep running towards that, and it just goes further and further away. Until you finally realize this is just an illusion. It's not really there. So whatever we see, we trust the eyes so much, but yet we only understand the mechanism of seeing because we learned how to see. It's not that you open your eyes and you see. You have to learn what is an object, what is a shape, what is a square, what is round, what is long, what is big, what is small, what is colors. You have to learn all these things, then you learn to see and understand. So just like learning to see requires also understanding, just like that, learning to see spiritually also requires understanding. Nobody can see just like that. You need understanding to know what you're looking at. So materially that applies, spiritually that also applies. You need understanding to see what's going on, especially on a subtle level. Because we see with the eyes on a gross level, but on a subtle level, we need spiritual vision, which comes from knowledge. That vision then is not seeing with the material eyes, it's seeing with the spiritual eye. And that requires knowledge. That requires spiritual wisdom, which comes through the spiritual master in a bona fide disciplic chain. Prabhupada goes on to say, as a result, he is suffering different kinds of happiness and distress under the illusion of sense enjoyment. See, the soul needs enjoyment. Anandamayo bhyasat. The soul needs enjoyment. But in this world, because it's relating to everything here, it thinks this is reality. But this is an illusion. This is Maya, it's an illusion. So it starts to believe this illusion, that this is how it works, this is how it operates. Why? Because he's been taught that. He's not been taught spiritual knowledge. The very fortunate person is taught spiritual knowledge. So Prabhupada goes on to say, persons who are everlastingly fooled by lust and desire lose all power to understand their change of body and they stay in a particular body. So this is what bewilders us here. It's lust and desire. Lust is not just physical lust, but it's also hankering after material enjoyment and desire. What are you desiring? Because there's so many things. Sometimes you'll desire something. Where did it come from? Without spiritual knowledge, you won't even know that it's a desire that's coming from a previous life. It could be 50 lives back that you had this desire. Now it's surfacing. So it's like bubbling. It's like a bubbling volcano. One after the other desires are coming. So your freedom, your independence is which one of those desires am I going to choose? Because the one that you choose, then you have to be responsible for the outcome, the result, the reaction of that desire. So that's our only dependence, which desire we choose. Otherwise, desire is not going to stop. It's going to just keep on bubbling up because it's coming from so many lifetimes. So as we dovetail all these desires in Krishna consciousness, we can purify them. And by doing that, we're developing love for Purushotam, Krishna. Prabhupada goes on to say, they cannot comprehend it. Those who have developed spiritual knowledge, however, can see that the spirit is different from the body and is changing its body and enjoying in different ways. So we can see that the body is changing every night. You get up in the morning, you have a new pimple somewhere. You get up in the morning, you have to shave. You get up in the morning, you realize, oh, there's some pain somewhere. The body has changed overnight. So if you first principle, you're not the body. So if you're not the body, then what are you? And if you understand that you're spirit soul, then how does it behave? How does it act and interact in this world? So all this knowledge needs to be known. Prabhupada goes on to say, a person in such knowledge can understand how the conditioned living entity is suffering in this material existence. So there was this one class in Melbourne where Prabhupada, any questions? And the man stood up and said, I'm not actually suffering and I'm having a good life. So Prabhupada immediately responded by saying, you are a madman. So he said, you must be a madman. If you think you're really enjoying here, what is your enjoyment? Just some fleeting moments of pleasure. And if we know the example that's given in the Vedas is that you hold your breath underwater and in that suffering you can't hold it anymore. And then you just come out and take a breath of air. Wow, how pleasurable is that air? And then poof, you're under the water again. So pleasure is a fleeting moment between two gaps of suffering. That's how the Vedas describe it. So we learn from the Vedas and we apply in the world, and we see, yes, this knowledge is true. Prabhupada goes on to say, therefore, those who are highly developed in Krishna consciousness try their best to give this knowledge to the people in general, for their conditioned life is very much troublesome. So those are the devotees. The devotees really try to go out, outreach, and share this knowledge with people because they are suffering out there. If you don't give them knowledge, how will they stop their suffering? How will you break their suffering? This is why we don't only try to help them on the bodily level, we try to help them on the spiritual level. That's why Krishna says in Gita, Ya idam paramam ghuyam, that this person who goes out and preaches, the devotee, is the most dear to me. Prabhupada goes on to say, they should come out of it and be Krishna conscious and liberate themselves to transfer to the spiritual world. So Prabhupada is saying, take this knowledge, apply it to your life, understand what's happening to you, apply it to your life, and then change your understanding of what's going on. By that change of understanding, you'll also become Krishna conscious or God conscious. Develop loving devotional service to the Lord and go back to the spiritual world. So this is a beautiful verse describing our great fortune in receiving this knowledge in disciplic succession via the Parampara system. We are very fortunate to have this. So I hope you learned something today. Please join us again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.